Okay, I finished my trail up, got it the way I wanted it to look. Here it is. And there it goes. So our next step will be to add the little drips that come off the trail to this. And I'll show you what we're talking about here. We're going to add these guys here, these little drips that come off the trail. Here's a trail, and those are basically the little droplets and drips that come off. That's what we're going to be creating next, to just add a little bit more organic variety and variety to the look of the trail. Here you go. So that's what we're going after. So back over to our comp. This is what we're going to be adding it to. This area here, it'll be falling off the trail as it goes by. So the first thing we have to do is create another comp. So let's just do that first. And we're going to want it 100 in the width. We don't need it to be the 720 because we're going to be using a very narrow part of it. 600, this is fine. 24 frames, square pixel. Everything else is fine. Black is fine. Let's call this comp drip 1. Oops. And I think we're good to go. So here's our comp. And now all we're going to do is go into the comp area here, right click. We're going to create a new solid. And that's good right there. We're going to want it to be the same size as the one we have now. We'll just call this solid drip 1. Keep doing that. There we go. So we have our drip solid. Looks good, looks good. There we go. And we're going to select that and go ahead and add our particle generator to it. All right. Now let's go over here and start creating the particle. In our emitter, we're going to set this up to about 33 to begin with. So it's going to spit out 33 particles at the beginning. And let's mark that here. And let it run for about a second and a half or so. Let's go all the way down about somewhere around here. And we want it to be 0 at that point. Here we go. So if we go here and we highlight this and hit U, we can see our 2 ins and out here for this particular effect. So it's going to start off here, go all the way down to 0. That way it sort of fades out. All right. So now we got to create these particles, make the particles have more of a drip effect where they're just falling down. So let's go ahead and start working on that. Let's go with a box so we can kind of, not linear, that's linear, or let's say directional, and we change this from point to box emitter so you can actually control how wide it is and so forth. And spread, we're going to go ahead and make that 0 because we don't want it to be spread out much. And let's see, everything else in here is fine, I think. Actually, let's rotate it just a little bit in the Z so that we can have a little more depth to it. Let's make it -14. I know how to do that. And let's see what else do we have here. Velocity, let's bring that up a little bit, 120. And the randomness of that, we like everything to be very organic, so let's say 61. And let's change this to 1. And the motion, we'll take that out to 0. How are we looking here so far? This is looking pretty good. And let's create the shape of the box. So on the X, which is basically going to be the width for us, let's set this to about 18. Y, let's say about 3. And Z will leave just the way it is. Okay. Now we're not. It seemed like it's all squeezed up now the way we set the box up. As soon as we add gravity, we can we'll start seeing the drip. Random seed. Let's just take this down to 0 for right now. Okay, that's it for the emitter. Let's go ahead and close this up, and let's start working on the particle. Well, the particle on this, well, you know what might be easier? Let's go ahead first and add our gravity so we can see better what we're doing. Let's go on to physics. Let's add the gravity and let's set it to about 200 so we can really see what's going on here. There we go. So now we can actually see what's going on for us with the drip. That's what we're creating. Comes out and falls out of picture there. That's what we're creating. But right now, though, it doesn't have any of the flicker effect that we want. It just sort of falls, generates out and falls out of the scene. But we want more of a flicker effect. So let's work on that. And that's what we'll be doing in the particle setup here. So we'll go in here. Let's make them a little smaller because we're going to randomize. Let's say, I don't know, 2.6 or so. And we want it to be random in size, so it's more organic. So let's say 54%. And we don't want to feather it. We want to keep everything sharp. So now we can start seeing the variation in size, or the variation in when the particles are being generated and how long they last. So there we go. And now we're going to make a variation in size. So let's pick a size, I don't know, 4.7 or so, and we'll randomize this maybe 23%, something like that. Okay. So now we can kind of see what's going on here with the various sizes and the dots. And we also want to create that flicker effect. And what we'll do is in the occupancy over life, we have the occupancy set at 100%, but over life we want it to sort of change. So once it generates a particle, we still want this to sort of change how bright they are. So that gives us our flicker effect. So we're going to open up twirl this down over life, and then right click in this box and then start dragging up and down. We did this once before, and start creating these peaks and valleys so that we get that flickering effect as they fall down. It's really kind of fun here. And this is very arbitrary. There's no right or wrong way. Just sort of draw these things in. There you go. So now we play this, you'll start seeing that flicker effect. See that? That's what we're doing. We get the flickering going now. Very good. So with that done, and we already got the physics done for the gravity, that's good there. I think we have our first particle. Now basically with that in mind, once we build one of these, the rest of them are going to be built the same way, but slight variations. Basically, maybe we'll use we'll change the emitter from starting out at, as opposed to starting out at 33, we'll make it start out at 44 to 0 or 10 to 0. So you'll have less particles, and we'll change, or maybe change the gravity so that they don't fall as quickly. So they're a little shorter in how far they fall down. So basically, we'll just create 3 of those and we make those variations to it. So let's put this back at 200 so we can see how this is going to work. And with that said, all you have to do then is go up here to where it has drop 1, and we would just highlight it and hit Command D, duplicate it, and then hit Command D again, duplicate it. And we can call these this is drop 1, we would call this, rename this to like drop 2, and rename this one to be drop 3. Oops, let's just go in here. Like so. And then all we'd have to do is open these up and make those changes like I was just talking about. For this one, we could say, instead of starting off at 33, let's say we want to start off at 44. There we go. There's more droplets, and we want it to, instead of the gravity being at 200, we say set the gravity at 100. So these sort of fall in, get started a little shorter. And we could also go in and say, let's modify the size of it. Let's go back into particle. Right now we say 4. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Let's say 2, for instance. So now they're a little bit smaller in size. It's just that easy. And then we would do the same thing with the next comp. Let's say 3. Let's bring up the particle here. Right now it's at 33. Let's say we want this to be at 20. So we have less particles being generated. So, and let's just change the gravity to like 150. And as far as the size go, so let's go back into the particle, into size. Let's change this to 5, and let's make it even more, a bit more varied, randomized. So there you go. So we got these various droplets now. So we have our, or I should say drip 1, drip 2, and drip 3. So we have variations now, and we can use that in our next step to create the drips that are going to fall off our trail. So until then, bye now. Bye for now.